Yo, what's up? I'm back. Yeah, let's get right to it, I guess. So I had been experiencing this kind of disillusion for a while in terms of social media. First, it was a way to emotionally vent and be creative, and take photographs and just post them for me. And then at some point, and I honestly think it was when I got into my first relationship that it became more of a way to communicate to everybody in my school that I was in fact dating. And I was very serious, and so here's all the proof. I got way too personal, like in the current age, social media is kind of like our new diary. And unfortunately, those thoughts are shared with other people, whereas a diary, that's a very secluded and protected piece of information about ourselves. And so a lot of my posts quickly became very personal, and they should have been between just me and my partner at the time, but I didn't know any better. I was growing up with everybody else, and so it felt fine, and that's where a lot of the future problems started coming into play. I refreshed and refreshed, and I would refresh and refresh, and I'm like, where are all the likes? I'm not getting enough likes in 5 minutes. I'm gonna delete it and repost it. This just became a normal thing, and it wasn't about the experience anymore of like going to a wedding reception and enjoying my family. It was about like, how can I convince people that I went to a wedding reception and enjoy my family? Like, it became about convincing everybody else, and then that eventually turned around to convincing myself. And you can see how that is a very poisonous way of thinking. It taints your ability to live presently and respond presently to situations, because you're constantly in the future. I mean, this kind of mindset went as far as I was dreaming of posting. That's where I was. And that's what it was, and everybody was doing it. I mean, you had a main account, and then you had a spam account, and then maybe you had an art account. Everything became very convoluted, and it was like, I want to have this identity that my parents are familiar with, but I also want to have this identity where I can be edgy and creative and maybe a little bit provocative in my ideas and my art and whatever. And everything's good, and I can just be two different people all the time. Like, that sounds great. Stop. Two different people, and it's something that is so hard to admit to yourself when you're that deep in the rabbit hole. And I'm speaking from experience. I didn't know who I was. This threshold between being what my parents thought I was and being this person who was exploring their sexuality, and like that threshold became very thin. I began experimenting more with photography, but it wasn't for me anymore. It was for a physical, numerical validation of my work. I don't remember getting any enjoyment out of the process of taking a photo or experiencing something within that moment, because I constantly lived to please someone else. My photos became provocative to the point that I was kind of being sexually exploitative of myself, which wasn't characteristic of me. And my friends on this artsy spam account would DM me and be like, hey, are you okay? And I'm like, screw you. Like, yeah, I'm fine. I'm doing what I want now. I'm being who I want to be. Like, I'm in total control, is what I would tell them. And then they'd be like, yeah, okay. I don't care what other people do, but for me it was disgusting to see myself kind of become that. And that I was never that person. I wasn't even confident like that in front of my own boyfriend. And of course, those were the photos, the provocative ones, that received the most likes, not the truly creative, personal photos. No, it was the provocative ones in my bra and panty, and I didn't know who I was. I was having a complete crisis meltdown. And I honestly attribute it to the fact that I was on that damn app all the time, every second, thinking, what does so-and-so think of this picture, and how does everybody see me, and translate all of that into your current friendships. To make a long story short, I lost my best friend after I deleted social media. We were very close in high school when I didn't care as much about social media. It was in my junior year, and I was very socially fulfilled, and it was just a jolly good time, like buddies, and we bonded and would play music together or whatever and drink tea, and we just had a really jovial, peaceful time. I mean, I honestly felt like they were a soulmate to me. Obviously, by the tone of this, we don't speak anymore, and it's because social media, for me, it acted as a mediator. It just facilitated the relationships I had with people from high school and presently. So those relationships didn't require any amount of effort anymore. They were immediately solidified anytime you got back on the app. So you didn't have to actually try. You didn't have to actually reach out. You just got to go surfing a little bit until you found what you were looking for, and you're like, oh yeah, my buddy's fine. I'll just, excuse me, I'll just shoot them a meme or something. But there was nothing really tangible there. There was nothing really like, I'm going through an identity crisis, and I've just lost my uncle, and I don't know what to do, so I'm gonna post this explicit photo so that I can get some attention. And you'd realize how, when you do something like that, you realize how little people give a rat about you. And that's what I experienced. I'm like, this person who was my best friend in high school, I pretty much, in a twisted way, expected to reach out to me, didn't. And I don't blame them. I don't. I'm not even mad. That's just how it was. God, I didn't reach out to them either, so what was I expecting? I saw them every day, alive and well, apparently, on the outside. And maybe they weren't either, but I don't know. Social media created a type of pseudo relationship. In a way, it was a gateway drug to step out of reality, to step out of who I thought I should be. I got to be somebody else. And so at some point, over the summer, I was working, my GPA was great, I got a job, and it was a great job, and I had a lot of great human interaction. It was great, and I was climbing out of my depression, and I was very truthfully suicidal. I've never been so scared of myself before. That was frightening. And I was like, that's it. I know who I am. I know what my values are. I need to get back to work. I need to get better. And I know that my uncle would want me to get better. I know this all sounds so stupid because it's about social media, but that's where it began for me. As far as this, I would say 2-year long battle with depression that very nearly ended in a suicide, because I couldn't see past. I couldn't see how great my life was, through the trees. That was the mirage of social media, what everybody else had. But I didn't want to let this thing go because I knew the consequences of that would be losing like my best friends. And I have lost them, but I have gained a much larger part of myself that I want everybody to discover. But I'm at peace. I'm back to writing. I'm very satisfied in my creative life and my social life. I don't need it. I don't need it. I kind of have regained some, you could call it childhood innocence back, where I can look at something with wonderment and not have to pull up Snapchat and reaffirm that I saw it. The takeaway is I just want you guys to think about why you're doing something, to think about why you want something. You know, really think about that, because when you lose sight of the motive behind your actions, that's when you begin to lose yourself amongst the white noise of our current society. I want you to be able to sit silently with yourself and appreciate, you know, how far you have come. And that's it. That's as far as we're gonna go on this subject. I guess we'll end it with a quote. Grief is a nourishing emotion, and from this poet with the last name Borges, he says, don't lose the now. And that's where we're gonna end here today. So thank you for sticking around, and I will see you guys later with more rambling. And if you want to talk about anything specific, I'm sure I can dish up a conversation. So thank you.